Hi everyone, welcome back to Brand 2020. Brand 2020 is when we look at Japan's attempts to brand itself, to project its image outside of Japan, and also to people who are voting and consuming here in Japan as well. Today I'm honored to welcome Yoko Zutterlund, who is a bronze medalist in the 1992 Barcelona Olympics and also a participant on the U.S. team in 1996 as well.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me today.
One of the things that comes up all the time when foreigners talk about Japan is hazing, bullying, sexual harassment, power harassment, people working in jobs too long, dying from overwork, or perhaps maybe even killing themselves. This is kind of a patina that overlays a lot of exploration of Japanese culture. And more recently, the Me Too movement seems to have come to Japan in sports and in politics. Have you had any experience as a sports athlete in Japan kind of dealing with harassment? I guess that's a loaded question because the answer there is obviously yes, it's part of the education, isn't it?
Yes. The answer is yes. It's I started playing volleyball when I was 12. And then back then, my team was really good and the coach was very strict. And of course, from the players' side, we always thought that we should follow and listen to what the coach always tell us or teach us. But I've seen a lot of cases that sometimes, as a junior high school student, that the coaches, is this really okay? Is this really coaching? Is this really part of education? That sometimes yelling at the players, sometimes I've seen coaches beating the players.
Hitting them, yes, physically.
Yes, and but part of it, that was a question in my mind, but also on the other hand that, this is some kind of process that we have to go through to get better, to be a strong team. Mm-hmm. And I tried to put that question away somewhere in my mind.
Because you were interested in being the best you could be. It's part of the sport. It's part of how education is here. I mean, even in Japanese elementary schools or in high schools, frequently you will see from the sidelines coaches, hitting kids on the head and kicking them and making them do better. And it's kind of part of the education.
It's been saying that it's part of education. Being very strict to like kids or players that will make them better. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that's the right way. And that shouldn't be the way. And it's becoming a very, very big issue these days, especially coaching the kids maybe under 12.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not only just the kids under 12. There's been a recent issue where a 4-time gold medalist wrestling, a female athlete by the name of Icho, was harassed. They don't say sexually harassed, probably more accurately, power harassed by her coach. And he really kind of blackballed her into doing what he wanted her to do. And when she revolted, she went to the press. It became a tremendous brouhaha. We haven't seen the end of that one yet.
No, not yet. And I was actually very surprised when the issue about power harassment by Coach Sakai came out because I know him. And he was also awarded one of the best coaches.
You didn't want to believe it, right?
No, I didn't want to believe it. And also, especially about Icho, she's been already a 4-time gold medalist, which is very, very being a good role model for many female athletes in Japan. So we always thought that, or I always thought that it's maybe like the coaching is changing a little bit about female players being coached by male coaches. I thought the coaching strategy has been changing a little bit, but I guess that was only that I was seeing the surface, not really deep under what was going on. And I think what it's need to be changed really that, now these days the coaching like theory that would say that the coaches should coach the players, not teach them at especially a certain age or once when they have like a very high career, make them be independent. And also they, especially like the female athletes, they should talk to the coaches with having respect, but at an equal level, that they can have like discussion what they want to get it done. And but sometimes when like the coaches, I wouldn't say only like the male coaches, but when the coaches, when they see the players becoming very, very independent and maybe just leaving under their wings, and they don't want to let them go.
Right.
So I think that's the time that the power harassment, at the very beginning, it happens.
Well, maybe that happens in group dynamic sports. Wrestling's not typically a group sport. It's an individual sport. But also, I mean, I don't think that the theory of coaching has changed that much, but tremendously the culture, Me Too, women empowerment, the Prime Minister likes to talk about that too. And I've got to say that Icho, the athlete, a 4-time gold medalist, she is to be commended. I mean, she stepped out. She took tremendous risk by saying, this guy is really totally off the reservation. The way he's treating me, the way he's blacklisted me, this is not right. And she came out publicly about that. And that kind of it opened the gates, didn't it? And this was just recently, over the last 3 months or so.
Yes, I think it really opened the gate. And I thought Icho was very brave. And especially in her position, what I assume is once she's done with her first career, I would say, as a player, then she will start her second career. And the second career really...
Don't be a troublemaker.
Right.
Don't be a troublemaker. So you're going to start your second career,
Right.
but in your first career, you were a little bit outspoken and you're a female, so
Right.
let's pass on that.
Well, if you want to start your second career, I think the way it is, you not only being like successful as a player in your first career, but to stay and start your second career, that you want to stay in the system. So sometimes you have to be quiet. You always know what the issue is, and you know what the problem is there, but sometimes you can't really speak up.
Right. Well, for athletes in Japan, it's different in a lot of countries, particularly in the United States, where every season you have a different sport. And so people typically are 2-season or 4-sport kind of players. They're swimmers in the winter, maybe they're baseball players in the fall, or football players, and maybe in the spring they're soccer players. In Japan, you identify one sport and you stick with that. And if you don't stick with it, it kind of impinges on your credibility and your stick-to-itness. And so once an athlete, a professional athlete, somebody who is at the world-class level, finishes their productive season, where do they go after that? It's almost a black box, isn't it? I mean, they can become a TV commentator. They can open a restaurant. There are very limited things that they can do successfully, don't you think?
I agree with that. I experienced when I was in college, or actually when I was in high school, that I decided to go to college. And my college team wasn't really a good, strong team. But I still wanted to go to the college and practice volleyball, and also just get a better education, higher education. And what I've heard from the outside is, oh, if you want to go to the Olympics, why don't you go play for the club team? Because that's the highest level in Japan. And if you want to go to the Olympics, you really don't have time to study, do you?
Right.
That was the question that was thrown at. But, everybody has a different way to try to go to the Olympics. But what I experienced back then was, if I want to go to the Olympics, there is only one way, that you don't have any other choices. And especially back then, that was, of course, that's not written on the book, but that was some kind of rule that you need to follow, otherwise you're dropped out.
Right. You're such an interesting guest because you're Japanese American, but you're more culturally Japanese than American, if you don't mind me making that observation. And you came up through the system here in Japan, and you became a very well-known, very accomplished volleyball player. But in the final analysis, you decided to change allegiance to the United States, and you made the U.S. team. You could have been a Japanese player, but you didn't. What's the story there? Is there some kind of impact of what it is that we're talking about now, the harassment, the kind of mismatch of cultures, the dynamics that's going on, that guided you to that decision?
Yes, well, I think that was part of my background that as a Japanese person that I was too outspoken and always made a statement that I don't think I really bothered anybody. I just wanted to make my own decision for what I think, what I thought it was right, and always trying to aim what I want to do. And but that the system, I should say, well, the system didn't really allow me to do that. And well, I followed the way that I thought what was right, but that the direction that I was going to, it was just going totally the opposite way from the Olympics.
Right.
And that's what I experienced around like age 16, 17. And but only back then, if I wanted to make the Japanese national team and also wanted to try to make it to the Olympics, well, probably it was better to go play for the club team and wait for being selected. So, and that wasn't the way that I wanted to try to go to Olympics. I always wanted to, let's say, just like challenge or get the chance with my own hands and just grab it and make it. And I thought that was the chances to go, or at least try to go to Olympics. I thought that was that kind of chances should be given equally or evenly to anybody who wants to challenge, not depending on like how long you played or what kind of success that you had in your career before, or who you played for, or who was your coach. And I don't think those things should be the issue of trying to make it to the Olympics or challenge to go to Olympics.
When you say a club team, what does that mean? You've got university teams, and they're competing perhaps with club teams. Is this like a city team, or is this like a sponsored by a company team?
A sponsored by a company team.
Okay.
And especially like maybe 30 years ago, when I was trying to go to Olympics or trying to decide whether I should go to play for the college team or play for the company-sponsored team. And there weren't many choices because all those like company-sponsored teams were the best. So most of the people or person who is in the position to select the players probably thought that that was the only way, and that was the best way to get a better performance to go to the Olympics and practice there.
So essentially, are the players employees of the company that sponsors the team? So you have to kind of join the company, become an employee, but actually you're spending 80% of your time training and maybe 20% of your time doing something else inside the company.
Especially for female athletes, there's like many different types of like contract that they have for the company, but mostly what they do is, I would say 100% they they practice and just play volleyball, and maybe sometimes they'll go see the people at the company, but that wasn't really the style after. When should I say? Maybe after the 1970s, or especially starting in the 80s, because like way back in 1964, when the national team, women's national team for Japan, they won the first gold medal in the history for volleyball. They were sponsored by the company, but what they did back then was like they worked from maybe like 8:30 to like 4:30, and then after the time that they practiced until how long, maybe like 1 o'clock at night.
Right.
So I would say that was more of the amateur side.
Right, because you're not supposed to be professional when you go to the Olympics, right?
Right. So back then, that was the style, but later on it became that the players should just concentrate on practicing, training for volleyball, and just forget about working for the
Right.
company. So that's like one of the things that, well, of course, players now, they have a choice whether they want to work for the company after they retired, but most of the players, they, after they retire, they leave the company too. So
Right.
then, so here's your second career, the beginning of your second career. So that, well, if I get back to Icho's story, that Icho is also now sponsored by the company, and but when she's done, of course, how's she going to start her second career? Then the first career, what she's been doing,
Right.
or what she said, or what she's done, that will really affect her second career. So.
And it's undecided yet if she's going to go into the Olympics again. That would be her 5th attempt at
Right.
making an Olympic team.
Exactly, and well, many Japanese fans are, of course, this if she makes it.
Rah rah, they're supporting
Right,
her, and
right,
probably a
right.
little bit of that is because of this controversy that she's in now. Wouldn't you say?
I think, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, I'd like to get more into Me Too and We Too Japan, which is a new organization that was set up by 84 journalists just recently about talking to the Prime Minister, talking to the Abe administration about, you know, the sexual scandal, about all of the stuff that's going on, about the finance minister saying inappropriate things in press conferences and just a lot of things. But before we get into that, you could have played for the Japanese team, but you changed your mind and you went to the United States and you made the team there. That is just a huge story in and of itself. But it must have been awful tough. And who lost out on that but the Japanese team? I mean, you were a bronze medalist. They could have, and Japan's always been very strong. I mean, when the
yes, they've
when the
been.
women's team comes on, everybody's glued to the sets.
Yes, well, the Japanese national team has a very great history. I don't know, I forgot like how many gold medals and like many medals that they've got until today. And well, especially when I just joined or decided to join the national team, yes, it was tough. It was like a huge change of culture for me since I grew up in Japan for a long time. And also I was coached by a Japanese coach for a long time. And also, when I got back to the States, I didn't speak that much English, so that was really tough.
Right. But you were a setter.
Yes, I was a setter, and well, that really that was a really good position for me because you see many great hitters already there on the U.S. national team, and they were looking for a third setter. Well, they always kept 3 setters, and I was trying for the third spot just to move up after that. And what was really good was when I wanted to go to Olympics, I thought that I already lost a chance when I was in Japan that, well, I have no more opportunity to maybe try to go to Olympics. And well, that was the toughest thing that I thought I have to like give up, even I'm not even at the start line to go to Olympics. But I had to choose my citizenship. And that was like the big
Divider,
point,
right?
yes, divider that I decided to have a tryout for the U.S. national team, and I didn't even know that they had a tryout. Well, you don't have any like internet information that you can get from anywhere when you want. So, but that was a really eye-opening for me, and luckily I had a dual citizenship. Then I also had an opportunity to choose, and that was like
Wow.
one year before Barcelona Olympics in 1992. And yeah, if I didn't have that chance, that I would have never made it. So.
What a great story of endurance and perseverance. And also, you are in your second career now. You are actually integrated into the sports administration here in Japan, and you're commenting a lot on coaches. You're ranking coaches. You're talking about the same thing that we're talking about at a grander scale. And can we talk a little bit about what you have seen in terms of Me Too, We Too Japan, which is a new hashtag that's come out recently. But it seems like there's this swelling that's coming in, and I think it's good news.
Yes, I think it's a good news and a good opportunity for not only athletes, but like female in Japan could also works for the company or for the organization. I think everybody has or everybody experienced before that they want something that they want to speak up, something that they couldn't really speak up or talk out loud about the issue, which is sexual harassment, power harassment, any kind of like harassment that they been very or forced to be patient and deal with what's been going on.
Shut up and take it.
Yes, shut up and take it.
Right.
If I say it that way. And always I think that kind of like movement for a new movement that I say that Japan gets a lot of influence would come from outside of Japan.
Right.
And sometimes it's good to take it the way it is and just keep the movement. But sometimes it needs to be arranged.
Change it just a little bit.
In a different way
Right.
to make the movement in Japan, because I think like culturally, from what I experienced that living in Japan is always looking for something new, but it takes a little time to accept something. And I think the Japanese culture is always tend to modify to and or develop the way that would fit into the system of the society.
Well, also, they seem to always wait for a catalyst, something to happen. They don't quite take the initiative. They wait for it to come in from most of the time outside of Japan. But here on Brand 2020, that's exactly what we talk about, the image of Japan, what Japan does to project that image. And in this current topic that we're talking about, it seems like the males dominate the issue. They dominate the storyline. They dominate the excuse and the reason for why it is this way. And the current administration, in fact, is taking the line that it's not a crime. Sexual harassment is not a crime. It's not on the books. And so this is just people who are disenfranchised or who are a little bit angry about something, and they come up with this. In fact, there was a comment by the former Minister of Education who said this was a frame-up for this Ministry of Finance official who eventually quit his job. But this thing pervades Japanese society, wouldn't you say?
I would say so, yes.
Yeah. So this Me Too and We Too Japan issue, this initiative that's just come over the last couple of weeks, do you think it has potential to catch fire here?
Yes, I think it is. Slowly, quietly, but surely I think it's catching fire.
These last 2 weeks don't say that. These last 2 weeks say this is an issue that's not going to go away.
No, it will always be there, and I think it's well, I should say it's a great start, great movement, and but we have to see if it's going to last. If it doesn't last, then it will just get back to like the old days.
Right.
So I think we need to just keep people or like female keep working on it.
Keep consistent,
Yes,
keep it,
yeah.
as an issue that's going forward. Because there's definitely going to be a little bit of a backlash. We've already seen a little bit of that.
Right.
We don't want the issue to die.
No.
We want to propel the image of Japan. We want it to encourage and inspire women to be more integrated and to contribute, more productively.
Agree. Yes, and this is a really, really good time, especially, well, speaking about, 2020, the Tokyo Olympic Games, Summer Games is like coming up, and like the IOC, International Olympic Committee, is trying to, the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, is also asking a lot of the organization such as like JOC, Japan Olympic Committee, and like other organization to put a female into a
command position or a
command
leadership position.
Yeah, leadership position, at least like 20%, especially in sports, that to show that the Japan is like changing internationally and taking the leadership, that there's like more opportunity for female to
become more actively engaged.
in a lot of things. So, it's there.
Okay.
So, The movement is there. So
Brand 2020, where we delve into how Japan creates its image, how it projects that image, and what it can do to make that image a little bit better. Today we've been talking about sexual harassment, power harassment in politics, in sports, and entertainment. Please stay tuned. This one is live.